So I guess I got interested in the urban landscape when I was a teenager. Just kind of exploring around and doing a lot of graffiti back in I guess that would be the late 80s and early 90s. I grew up on the East Coast, so in the Philadelphia and New York area, there's a lot of, I guess, like desolation and whatnot in the city. So I got kind of hooked on it then, or it kind of planted like a seed, I guess. And I picked up on it later when I was going to art school. Initially, I went to a small school in Colorado for a year, and then I dropped out. And then when I moved to Portland, I went back to PNCA. I had friends that were living here, and I'd come out to enjoy the outdoors around here, and it was beautiful, cheap place to live. It kind of reminded me of some places back in New England a little bit where I grew up. So I don't know, I didn't really plan to move here, or I just ended up here. And then I needed something to do when I got here, so I did, I was painting and making art and doing things, and I was like, maybe I should look into going back to school. And the museum school looked like pretty cool. I had visited a couple of times. I've been here, I was in a couple of bands, and I've been here on tour before. Well, initially I did a lot of drawing and painting outside, and then even when I was going to art school, I really concentrated on, I guess, like plein air painting. It just felt really good to be in the environment and to really be kind of like soaking up what was there and spending time. But as I've moved on with that stuff, I do rely more on photographs. I think you can see it in the work, I don't think that's takes away from anything whatsoever. It's just another tool that I use. It's a quicker, more efficient way for me to get things done. It's complicated, it's like you don't want to, or for me anyway, I wouldn't want my painting to be too referential of a photograph. So at a certain point, it's like you use it somewhat to maybe lay some things out or reference back to stuff, but at a certain point I try to put that away and just, kind of let the painting speak to me or whatever, and have that interaction with the work. Yeah, now this year, Portland seems to be reflecting my work back somehow. I don't know how much I like that, but that's the way that's a feeling I've had about it, yeah. I wouldn't have wanted that to come to be necessarily, but it is how it is right now, It is about transformation and change and maybe trying to look at things that, I don't know, that people don't pay attention to on the regular, or just places that people don't go or seek out. That's always been kind of interesting to me. I've always felt like maybe if your band had played a show and you were standing out back of the bar having a cigarette looking out over the industrial area behind you, what you saw back there, those moments were really kind of beautiful, and most people don't really see that or take the time to go to some place like that. So well, I spent a bunch of time during the wildfires that were happening here. I went out, and there's another painting that I didn't capture the sky, I think, as well as I did in that piece, but it was from the same couple of days of just being out in the smoke. my daughter has gotten into photography, and so we spent a bunch of time this summer kind of going around and exploring and taking photographs and stuff. But all I can say is that during the fires, like, the sky changed dramatically from hour to hour and day to day, and it was horrible, and it was hard to breathe outside. It was hard to, like, really spend any time out there. And so we walked around and did as much kind of exploring as we could, because I knew that, hopefully we'll never see that again here in Portland. Maybe, but it seemed like an important thing to document. That's my neighbor Paul, and he and I spent a bunch of time exploring Portland Meadows when that place became abandoned. It went from abandoned to demolished, like, really quick. It's gone now. It only took a few months. Yeah, we just happened to be I captured him in a photograph walking around exploring there, and I don't know why that happens to be the only figure. It's not like I never have figures. I find, sometimes the figures draw so much attention in these spaces that you don't pay as much attention to what's there outside of whatever the person is doing or whatever. So it's maybe about focus, I guess. Yeah, so I guess it was, it's where you could go bet on horse racing, and so there was a big racetrack, obviously, and then there was a building where you could go and bet on the horses, and there was refreshments and whatnot in there. And then behind the track were a really expansive area of just like stables where they would keep the horses, and places for the people that tended and worked back there. That's where that's from. There's like a little tower that kind of it's hard to see through the fence there, but it kind of overlooks the whole track from the back, and I'm not sure what the person did who was back there, if they were timing things or giving a signal to somebody on the other side. It was kind of neat going up in there. There was all kinds of cool leftover scraps of paper, old photographs of horses and people winning ribbons, and weird notes that one might write to yourself when you're super bored at work. It's the biggest painting. I feel like the title to that one kind of goes back to what we spoke about before, just with maybe the work itself kind of reflecting the future Portland, or how things have been looking here, the changes that have happened, right? Okay, that's where the title came from. That piece kind of sticks out to me as it's really the only one I did in this show that is from source material from a couple of years ago, a road trip that I went on with my brother up towards Seattle. That's where that image is from. Yeah, it does take a lot of time away from painting, and I think with this kind of work here, the main cross-pollination would be just kind of outsider art, right? And that's where it fits in for me. But I've had shows, or I've done work in the past that has utilized tattoo iconography and imagery and whatnot, and maybe that's something that I'll come back to more in the future. I'm not sure. But yeah, I just kind of see it as an outsider thing. But interesting. Tattooing has changed a lot, and it's more acceptable now. It's more mainstream than it ever was before. But I think it's one of those art forms that'll never be able to be completely co-opted all the way. It's just too radical, the things that you can do with it.
Right.
Yeah, it keeps it pure.